All right, welcome to this week's Thursdays on the Stoop session. Today we have Writing from the Roots, Kalela Williams. Very exciting. I'm going to read Kalela's bio and then we're going to get started. Kalela Williams is an author, a proud auntie, a cat mama, and a Black History Maven. For the past 2 years, she has directed the Virginia Center for the Book. After more than a decade of creating public programs for the Free Library of Philadelphia, Mighty Writers, and other Philadelphia institutions. Besides her forthcoming book, her poetry and prose has been published and commissioned by BBC4, Calyx, a journal of literary arts for women, Drunken Boat, Philadelphia Contemporary, and others. Kalela, thank you so much for being here and take it away.
All right, thank you all so much. So I want to just let everyone know, first, to those of you who, first, thank you all so much for chiming in. My gratitude for Blue Stoop runs deep, and my gratitude for Julian, especially because this is an arc of the book that is coming out on October. Yeah, that's right. Get back on the screen on October 15th. And Julian, so first of all, I had some. I had a really good experience with, I took a 5-week workshop at one point with Blue Stoop, and it was a free workshop, and it was great. And it really gave me a lot of confidence with writing. I had put a lot of my writing down since graduate school, and I had a really tough experience. Back in 2011, I tried to get an agent for TANGLEROOT, and I didn't. I had to sort of build back from that, and taking workshops with Blue Stoop really helped me with that. And I think that was a free workshop. And then I also took a workshop that I paid for, which was worth every single penny. So there were a couple of little things that I did with Blue Stoop that were just absolutely amazing. And then I met Julian, I don't remember where or how, probably online somewhere, but Julian used to host something called Sit and Write, where you would just go into a building with, and you would sit together and write. And that is what allowed me to, again, get the courage and also the time to sort of force the time for myself to do this, to work towards this. And then I tried again to get an agent, and I did, and I got a publisher. And so I'm going to do an unboxing today. I've got a box of hardcovers right there. And so, check me out on social media. It'll all be there. I'll have the unboxing, and I'm sure I'll like scream or something, or maybe I'll be very calm. I don't know. But in any case, I'm going to read from Tangleroot as part of this, because Tangleroot is, I'm going to read a little bit from it. Tangleroot is a book of place. It is the story of a young woman who, she's 18 years old, and she moves from Boston, where she's very happy, to Central Virginia after her parents' divorce. And she's moving into this old house in the middle of nowhere, in this rinky-dink town. And the house was built by her enslaved ancestor. Noni does not care, while her mother has the highest reverence for that. But what does fascinate Noni is that on the property of the family home, she finds evidence of someone who did live there, and she's very drawn to that and wants to find out more. So I'll read a little bit for a bit, but I want you to think about the idea of place. A lot of times when we think about place, we think about where is it? What did it look like? And we just try to get that description, right? We might even think about it was cold, or it was, the floorboards creaked, but we don't really think as much, at least I don't, and I had to really work for this, about what are the singularities of a place? Places are like people. There's no other one like it, right? Like whether it's a house, whether it's a spot of land, whatever it is, it's a singular thing, and nothing else, you can't do a replica of it, not very easily. Even if you build the same model of a house somewhere else, it's still going to be different. And one of the things that makes it different is, of course, the energies of that. Now, this is a little woo-woo, and you can get as much woo-woo as you want to with me, but there are sometimes we can feel an energy in a house. And sometimes we can feel two different energies at once. Sometimes we can feel two different things at once. And I'll sort of talk about that a little bit in an example that I'll give you all. And the other thing is the witnesses to place. This could be people who've walked there, who've lived there, who've spent time there, who've existed there, and who, again, feel free to get as woo-woo with me as you want, but who might have left an imprint there. Julian was just talking about, Julian, I hope you don't mind, sort of moving into a home that was owned by someone else, and sort of, you know, some of the belongings are there. And that feeling of having to, okay, now I've got to sort through this person's belongings or get rid of them or do whatever it is, maybe keep some of it, but whatever it is, this evidence that somebody else was there. So as we're talking, as I'm reading, I want you all to feel free to chime in on chat and tell me about a place where you've spent time in. This can be indoors or it can be outdoors, but a spot where you've spent time in. It could be a house, it could be a car, it could be whatever it is, a place that where you've spent time in that that has a singularity that's special, that has an energy, and that has witnesses. You, of course, spent time there, but maybe others, maybe your friends or your family, maybe people who existed before you, maybe people who will exist in the future. Feel free to just chime in the chat. Wax on as long as you'd like, because it's a chat, and like, I don't know, I like to overshare sometimes. So feel free to kind of really think through that. And I'm going to just read a little bit from TANGLEROOT. I had it right here. Okay. So I'm going to read two short sections. And again, jump in that chat for me, or not for me, do it for you. All right. Where's my bedroom? I asked as we stood inside of one of the guest rooms. It had a pencil post bed with a gauzy canopy. The wallpaper was dappled with tiny clusters of green leaves. A prissy 10-year-old girl would kill for this room. There was even a wooden chair with some kind of doll sitting on it. Mom adjusted the lace curtains. Isn't the view gorgeous? Outside, a backyard sloped down into a steep hill. A creek shimmered near the wood's edge. Yeah, whoever visits will love it. Not that anyone would drive out to our no man's land. What's this? I picked up what was on the chair, a faceless figure made of brown cloth with braided yarn for hair. Stubby arms poked from a faded bluish gray dress. I saw her at an antique shop in Daventry, Mom said. I felt like she just belonged here. This? Holding it up, I realized there was another side to it. I flipped the skirt over and another faceless half doll greeted me, an ivory cloth one with yellow yarn hair and a pink dress. It was weird and baffling. Mom, what is this? She's called a topsy-turvy doll. They were popular in the 19th century, and it's likely that black and white girls played with them. I turned the doll upside down again, revealing the black doll. There's like no face. I thought of my mother's old Raggedy Anns with their glassy eyes and painted-on smiles. Many enslaved women were never taught to embroider, she says. I'm going to go down a little bit in this passage. Wait, is this supposed to be my room? Of course it is. Then where's my stuff? I plunked down the doll. Your belongings are all in storage. You can bring them with you to be you. Look, I want you to see something. Mom opened the closet. All I noticed was how tiny it was, how inconsequential. But Mom regarded the inside of the paneled door. At first, I thought there were paper dolls glued there, but then I realized they were drawings of white women in big, old-fashioned dresses bedecked with huge bows and flowers. Gowns with enough fabric to tent a village. Gowns wide enough to double as parachutes. The color was faded and the papers peeled at the ends, including the printed description someone had pasted on the corners of each sheet. Latest style of walking dress, I read aloud. Rich gray silk, double skirt, Postilion jacket, sleeve gathered into a cap of velvet tartan and a cuff of the same. What the hell is a walking dress? Mom, what are these? Fashion plates, pictures from 19th century fashion magazines. Gaudy Ladies Book, Peterson's, the Vogue of their day. I sneered at one of the drawings. Oh, look, here's a riding dress. Is this different from a sitting dress or a standing dress? Is there a pooping dress? She folded her arms. You're into fashion. I thought you would like this room. And a teenage girl lived here, you know, a white girl. She pasted these pictures. And you know who else may have slept here? I shrugged. A black girl, a girl her age, your age. We know the white people here had a young maid and sometimes servants slept on their enslaver's bedroom floor, like dogs. Mom shut the closet door hard as if something evil were inside. So you're taking this room, you're sleeping in this antique bed, and everything this white girl has is yours. It is yours. So that's one part of this. And I see that some of you are, thank you, some of you all are imagining or putting in some places here. I'm going to read one other part, and then feel free to share uh, some places that a place where you've spent time. Okay, so my little character, my snarky character, goes for a walk on the property, and then she sees this. I walked the ribbon of trail that reached into the bristly woods. You could get lost along these snaky paths. Rounding a curve, I saw what looked like a rock garden, but it was a teeny cemetery enclosed by a short iron gate. A few gravestones pointed upward from clumps of weeds. Somewhere on the Tangleroot property, there had to be a cemetery for enslaved people, but Mom hadn't been able to find it. The graves in most enslaved folks' cemeteries were only marked with rocks, easily lost in brush, she said, or with wooden crosses that would have long since rotted away. The enslaved people's burying ground at Tangleroot might be too overgrown with trees or shrubs to locate, or the uncarved stones might have sunken into the earth altogether. I never thought of the White family being buried here too, but it made sense. I knew rural families often buried their dead on their property, not in a churchyard. Still, it seemed strange that a cemetery was basically in our backyard. As I studied each burial, a crude family tree emerged. A tall, pointed gravestone signaled Thomas Dearborn as the family patriarch. He was born in 1808 and died almost 70 years later. Beside him was Martha Dearborn, born in 1817 and dying in her 50s. Her tombstone read, "Beloved wife and mother." Flanking them were two small stones. One simply read, "Infant, 1840." The other child was named for his father. He died when he was 4 years old. From the dates on their graves, I knew that Martha and Thomas Dearborn were the enslavers of Cuffy Fortune, our family ancestor. And Mom knew all this too, of course. She had found rosters with Cuffy's name. She even found in old letters references to him constructing the house. But she had never called this white family by their names. To her, they were Cuffy's enslavers. It sounded harsh, but I could see how it made sense to her. They denied Cuffy his humanity. Maybe she felt no point in giving them something that they would have never given her, a Black woman. But just like Mom's and my ancestors, these people had lived, they had married, and they had died. And they had buried loved ones. I knelt to better read another stone. It seemed like a century of dead leaves were jammed up against it. With a flat rock, I dredged them away. The engraving was weathered, but I made out the words. Here lies Sophronia Dearborn, born July 5th, 1841, died August 18th, 1859, and infant son, born and died August 18th, 1859. Rest well, beloved daughter and sweet babe. So we're going to end it at that. So these are some ideas of place that are fictional. But I'm looking here through some ideas of place that are not fictional, that belong to some of our listeners here, our readers or writers. This is amazing. This is amazing. So keep thinking of these ideas of place. And if you think of something as we go through, feel free to chime in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then I'm going to show everyone a slideshow. First of all, any comments so far on any comments on the reading or anything like that before we move forward? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share. And then I'm not gonna be able to see you all's face because I'm gonna go to present mode, which means I will not be able to see you. I will only be able to show you what's here. So so here we are, writing at the roots. I'm gonna show everybody a house. If you've seen this house before, just don't share that with anyone. I want everybody to have their own impressions of it. I'm going to show you a house and I'm going to show you the inside of the house. And I want you to think through singularities, witnesses, and energies. And I'll ask questions as I go through. Remember, I can't see the chat. So Julian, if you see something in the chat, if you could just tell me. Well, I can see, actually, no, I think I can see the chat. I just have to, yeah, I can see the chat. So I can see the chat. But also, just in case I don't answer right away, it's probably because I'm just not kind of actively looking for it. So, oh, that's Tangleroot. And that's the back of Tangleroot. This is the house. It's the house that we were just inside. This is another house. So thinking about this house, Any initial thoughts? And again, if it's familiar, maybe don't share it, but if it's not familiar to you, do you have any thoughts here? When might it have been built? Any idea? Any thoughts? Okay. Feel free to dump them in, whatever works. All right. We're going to go inside this house.
The 60s. Or
All
late
right.
60s.
Yeah. Yeah, we got this, like looking here at this, we've got the kitchen here. Yeah, pretty quintessential 60s kitchen, maybe. Right. Oh, got a rotary phone. So right away we know this is not anything new. Looking at the chat here. Oh, love the turquoise. Yes, I know. Isn't it beautiful? It feels, any other thoughts on this feeling here? Any feelings we have as we're touring this house without any people? Okay, we're gonna go a little bit further. Have a bathroom here. It's just a bathroom. Any thoughts on this bathroom?
Everything in here seems really neat and clean and Spartan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could be a time capsule, nostalgic. Yeah, yeah. It reminds me, my grandmother had this pink bathroom. She loved, she could use that bathroom. Even my grandfather couldn't use it. It was just, hers. And somebody else says Howard Johnson turquoise, such a strong childhood memory. That idea of colors that can just evoke something in you, right? Like the pink is making me think of my grandmother, and Heather, the turquoise is making you think of the Howard Johnson turquoise. Yeah. Got a bed here. Just a bed. Any indication of what the family might have been like who lived here? Looking at the chat again. Fiance's grandmother has a bathroom similarly olive green. Yeah, yeah. Religious, yeah. As we can see that there's crosses, there's religious icon oh, that word that I can never say. Yeah, iconography. All right. Cross stitch, yeah. And then we have a dresser here. Right? Crafty, maybe? Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Got a room here. African-American children. Yes, on the pictures on the parents' nightstand. And we've got a room here. Who might have lived in this room?
Boys.
Boys, yeah. And again, does this look kind of like the 60s? Kind of like, yeah, okay. Another room. Somebody said minimal, yeah. Okay.
Girl. There's
Yeah.
a ballet magazine.
Yep. Dolls on the bed. Let's see, there's dolls on the bed. Yeah. Are we feeling any sense of, we're feeling, we're feeling minimalist, we're feeling, are we feeling any sense of what the family might have been like who lived here? Kids' bedrooms almost look like a bedroom set at, at a grandparents' or relatives' home. Yeah. Hardworking but poor. Okay. Staged like for a show. Okay. Thrifty. Yeah. Okay. More belongings, more furniture. Okay. You have a piano. And imagine this room with people. Yeah, mid-century modern before it was a thing. Yeah, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm leaving this screen blank because if we think about imagining that house when there might have been people in it, what might have those people have been like? What might they have? We've established there's a girl, there's a boy, there's a couple, maybe parents. What might have this room, these spaces been like when people lived here? Quiet, feels quiet and reserved. Okay. Any thoughts on what it might have been like when people lived here? People bring mess. Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, messier. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Perhaps the kids were in school, and perhaps they come home and, what did you do when you came home from school? Yeah, let's see. Yes, yes, that's correct. Al Latif. Okay. Singing at the piano, maybe hymns, loving the children. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on what this house might have looked like, might have been like when people were there? You think somebody used the phone? Feels like there might have been strict rules. Television or radio? Probably. I don't know that there was a television. Okay. Do you think so? It seems like there was a family here and like there was family life here, right? Like maybe those were some of the energies there. So I want to go to sharing what else this house is. And I'm going to go a little bit forward because so far we've seen a family, we've seen nostalgia, we've seen magazines on the coffee table that maybe people read, we've seen a piano, we've seen a telephone, we've seen these items that would have belonged to people who lived in this home, right? And so, and somebody said loving a family. Yeah, and this is a house museum. So I'll give that context. It is a house museum. So there's no one living there now, and it's made to look like someone did. But this idea that why would this family life from the 60s, it's not terribly old, be enshrined? Why would this be made into a house museum? It's because this house belonged to Medgar and Merle Evers. Do you all know who the Evers family are and were? I'll say are. Anybody know about the Evers family? Okay. Yeah, okay. If anybody wants to jump in, feel free to use your mic.
Civil rights activist in Mississippi, killed in the carport of his home. So,
That's correct. Yeah, it's that carport that we saw. I want to actually go back to that carport that we saw. This right here, right? So we see this house, we see this family, we see this life, and then we see this. This is a crime scene. I'm bringing up this home because I visited this house in July, and it's now a national park services site. And so there are rangers there who give you tours. There's tourists who come in. There's a park across the street. And it's in commemoration of Medgar Evers, a civil rights hero, and his wife, who went on to continue his work, his activism, and also his children. So this house was remade in consult with Merle Evers and with the children, the surviving children. One of them died in 2001. Medgar died in 1963. He was shot in 1963. He was shot from a house across the street. So we have this home that is at once a place of love and family, and we also have it as a crime scene. And not only just any crime scene, but a place of an assassination. This was an assassination. And then we also have it as a place to be remembered, a National Park Service site, a house museum. So we have three different singularities of this place. Merle Evers was very adamant that this house not just feel like a place where someone died, but that it feels like that it is seen as a place where someone lived too, that this was a happy family that lived here. Yes, the children were trained to recognize the sound of a car backfiring from the sound of a gunshot. Yes, they were trained to army crawl and get inside the bathtub if they heard anything, but they were also taking piano lessons at the piano. They were doing their homework at the kitchen table. They were playing games, and while their parents read Life magazine and Jet magazine. So they lived. And so this is the idea of how a place can be two different things or three different things or many different things at once. This is just some more context to Medgar Evers. But again, this is this idea of how a place can be many different things at once. So as we're thinking about singularities, energies, and witnesses, what I want everybody to do is let's take about 10 minutes, and everybody's got laptops or computers or something, because that's how you're here. So I would like for you to go online or go through your old archives or whatever it is and find pictures, a picture of a place that you want to think about, want to imagine. It can be a real place from your own past or present. It can be your own house right now. And I want you to think about, write down singularities, energies, and witnesses, and jot down some thoughts there. You can put your thoughts in the chat, and feel free to send me, or just write them down for now, and you can put them in the chat later. Take about 10 minutes. As you're finding pictures, go ahead and email them to me at kalelawilliams@gmail.com. kalelawilliams@gmail.com. And that way I can just put them on the screen to share. All right, that sound great? All right.
Can you
Yeah.
say a bit more about the singularities part?
Yeah. Singularities is it can be something about a place that makes it different from any other place. It can also be a very different purpose of the place that maybe is unusual in comparison to real places. So for instance, the house that I'm in right now is I'm in an apartment of a Victorian house. The singularities of this is that it's one of the only houses in this neighborhood that's it's the highest house in this neighborhood. It's on a big hill. And it's probably built to look like that on purpose because the people were very rich and they wanted to show that off, right? I've got this mantle behind me. Not many homes, not many homes have mantles like this. So these are some elements of a singularity. Another singularity is simply that it's a big house turned into an apartment. And I'll put my email in the chat. If you have any images that you'd like for me to show, feel free to take the next minute or so and send them on over. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Can everybody see me? No, you can't see me because my video is not on. Okay, can everybody see me and hear me? Oops. Can anyone, okay, great. I've got one thumbs up, I'll take it. All right, so again, thinking about, thank you, thinking about singularities, energies, and witnesses. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first image, and if the person who sent this image wouldn't mind speaking to what they wrote down, that would be awesome.
So these are from me, and I actually didn't get to write anything down about them. I was too drawn into looking at images and thinking about them. But the first one is my bed. After a really good dog sitter cleaned my house. So I had to document it. And then my backyard, which is where I do a lot of gatherings. And so it's a very social, extroverted place versus the bedroom, right, where I spend a lot of time reading books and writing in my journal. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And Karen, can you talk about some of the work that you do outside in your backyard?
Yeah, so I do teach workshops, and oftentimes we are outside in my garden for the workshops. And I work one-on-one also with students on their applications and things like that. And so that's a place where I can sit, and usually my dog sits with me, with them, and cuddles up with them while we're working on their application essays.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so when we're thinking about a space and singularities and witnesses and energies, you talked about it being a social place, a vibrant place, and a place where you're working with people, you're working on craft, you're working on essays, you're working on things that they need to do, but also things that they want to do. And there's no other place that functions that is this, right?
Mm-hmm. I'll add what it also means to me is I've done all of that gardening. I'm not a gardener, but I have learned, and I planted all those trees myself when they were only 6 feet tall. And then my friend put in the stone patio. Mm-hmm. So all of that really means a lot to me, those connections to the space.
And if you were writing about this place, I think that would be a really apt thing to mention, because it individualizes this place, right? And just the same with your dog center, okay, we see a made bed, it looks nice and neat, But the
Mhm.
context of this is that your dog sitter cleaned this up, right? Your dog's, I mean, my cat sitter doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So I think that the context here is important to the story, the narrative, the whatever it is. If you're writing fiction, you can imagine these details, right? And these are the details that make people. These are the details that make a place, that make the energy, that make what's there. And the same with the bed. This is the context.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yes. Thanks.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to write about that.
All right, I'm going to go to the next one. With the person who shared this one, I sort of got everybody mixed up because I was just kind of grabbing emails, and I know, isn't it beautiful? It looks like right around where I live. I live near the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I'd love to sit out here. The person who shared this, can you talk about this? Remember that I can't see faces. I can only see, and if you'd like to pass, you can just say pass, but you can just say that in the chat too. But I can't see anyone's faces. I can only see the screen. Okay. All right.
Maybe they're muted and don't realize it.
Yeah. If you're muted, go ahead and unmute. Ah, okay. There's something in the chat. I'm not sure. Oh yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, does anybody else have any thoughts? Someone said this is beautiful. Any thought? And I said it looks like where I live. Any thoughts on this this setting here?
I was not the one who sent this, but I live in West Virginia, and this looks very much like where I live as well. And there's a sense of home and the steadiness that comes with that about this.
Mm-hmm. Home and steadiness. What I find is interesting is you're in West Virginia. I think Julian, I think you said Tennessee looks like Tennessee, and then I said it looks like where I live in Virginia. So that's a wide swath of location, and yet there's something familiar about it, right? To a few of us, right? There's something familiar that we've all seen, and so there's some singularity that's also familiar here. Because that these mountains, we're talking about the same range of mountains. We're talking about the same geographical forces that created this. And when you think about witnesses, if you think about thousands of years ago, what might have, who might have walked along these mountains? Do you think there were people here thousands of years ago?
There were probably many different indigenous peoples that traversed those mountains.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, just like any spot where we are, but when we're thinking about, we're thinking about this range of mountains that's going through a large part of the United States, if this is indeed in the United States, and it, looks very much like it might be, but thinking about the peopling of a place, who, might have used this as a corridor, might have walked alongside the mountains as a corridor. So I thought it might be a park in summer. I wanted to sit there and pause during a hike, suggesting who's missing and who's arriving. Yes. Because what's interesting here is we have these benches or this railing rather, and we have this people who can sit there. The relationship between, yes, singularity. Good question, Emily. Singularity can be familiar. There can be something that you can be in. Deja vu, for instance, is this idea that something you've never seen before, but yet you have, right? And so this idea of, have you ever walked into a place and it's like, this reminds me of this is different. This place is very different from anywhere I've ever been, but yet it reminds me of blah, blah, blah. And what I love when I'm writing fiction, at least, I love playing with the strange and the familiar. So I'm really glad you mentioned this, Emily. I love this idea of what is strange and what is also at once familiar, and making the familiar strange and making the strange familiar. That to me is like one of the best things to play with. And you can do that so well with setting because it happens to us all the time. Beautiful tension of absence and presence. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay. All right, I'm conscious of the time, so we're gonna move forward. I think we've got a couple more pictures. Got another mountain range, more mountains. I don't know if it's the same person or if it's a different person who I sort of got everybody mixed up. So
This one was me.
Ah.
And this is a mountain range in El Yunque, the national rainforest in Puerto Rico. So yeah, in terms of singularities, I was thinking about how it's the only national rainforest within the US and its colonial territories. It also provides like 20% of Puerto Rico's water. I was thinking about like kind of going backwards in my mind and thinking about the witnesses as locals, tourists, Forest Service employees, loggers, miners, colonizers, Taino, Arawak peoples, and like, yeah, I think that's about where I ended.
Catherine, what I think is interesting is the witnesses who you've described, there might be tensions therein, right?
For sure.
And so the idea of the inherent tensions of witnesses can also give not just singularity to a place, right? Because we've got this one swath of land and we've got a lot of people who want or need or have access to it or have had access to it and maybe had that taken away or had not had access to it and maybe taken it, or et cetera, et cetera. We have a lot of tensions within this place. And so that's not just singular to this place, but also it can speak to other places. Emily, I think what you said about the familiar being strange or about singular being familiar too. You know, this could be the neighborhood park down the street, but here it exists here in a very special way that would be contiguous to the landscape. And I also am struck by the look of these mountains, the toothiness of them. Anybody else notice that? Okay. Any other thoughts? I think we've got one more picture, one more image. Okay. I'm gonna move forward to this one.
All right, this one with me. This is a room in a bed and breakfast where I spent a week in Sedona, Arizona earlier this year. And it's one that I keep coming back to, this room when I reflect on that trip, for a variety of reasons, but specific to this workshop, I was thinking, you know, there's this weird doubleness of singularity in the space, because in the week that I was there, the only people to enter the room or to be in the room were my fiance and myself. The staff didn't even enter ever. And we were the only people to inhabit it in that time, which is a very encapsulated thing. But at the same time, it's a hotel, it's transient. There are people that have stayed there before me, and there are people that have been there after me, and that will continue to be for the remainder of, you know, the hotel's lifespan. So it's weird to think of the intimacy of, you know, living in a room for a week that has also been shared with other people on different planes. What was the next one? Witnesses. This is one that I struggled with a little bit because I'm not quite sure how to approach it. I mean, you know, my fiance and I witnessed the singularity of that week, but at the same time, you know, the staff from a removed distance witnessed our singularity of inhabiting the hotel room for the week, which is interesting. But only I bore witness to the specific energy that I encountered in that space, in that specific time period. That energy is something that I'm continually chewing over. I mean, 7 months out, I want to say, from this trip, because I did a lot of writing that week, and a lot of like strenuous physical activity with hiking and other things. And so there's a lot of mental and physical energy that was spent in the larger area that I would come back to this room and just kind of let go of and release. And this is a place of sanctuary. And yeah, I don't know. I'd love to revisit this. I wish I could go back and sort of chew on that week some more. But yeah, I'm trying to be conscious of time. So that's yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you sent a place where other people, this is a bed and breakfast, so people go in and out. And I think you hit on witnesses very well, because you're here having your own, as you put it, singular experience, which is your experience. Then other people have stayed here, and then who knows what the house was before. And then of course you have staff who come in out, who this is another day at the office for them. And maybe you were, special, and they're like, oh, I love talking to this person. But, at the same time, there might be other people who are also special, and they're like, yeah, this is great. Or, so I think this is really interesting. And I love how this picture tells the story, because there's so much outside of the window that is just absolutely incredible. I'm going to share one more image, because because Heather had sent me something that I unfortunately didn't get. So I'm just going to grab it real fast. And then if those of you, if you can stay behind for like a minute, if you would like to, you can. But I'm going to just quickly retrieve this image, some images, and then share those. So let me go to my Zoom here, and then let me share my screen one more time, if you all want to just bear with me for a minute. So Heather, can you talk about, there's 3 images here.
So the middle one is probably the one that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Holocaust Memorial in the center of downtown Berlin in Germany. And the singularities are that it's a memorial of that genocide above ground, and underneath there's like this vault-like museum that maps all of the places that the Nazis killed Jews. And on one side is a park, but on the other side is where the Berlin Wall used to be. So that Nazi era is here, but it's also a place that was part of the Berlin Wall era, where if people tried to get over the wall, they were shot and would have died in this plaza where there weren't any of these stones then. And now children use it as a playground. They love climbing on the lower rocks. And so it has all those things going on. The energy is terrifying, but also really beautiful. The shadows that the sun makes and the blue skies are gorgeous, and yet it's also incredibly sad and mournful. And the witnesses are in those different eras, like tourists and Berliners of today. The far right that's rising in Germany of today is present here, and yet there are ghosts of the Jews, ghosts of the Nazis, ghosts of the Russians, ghosts of the East Berliners shot here in that post-World War II era. So it feels like there's this layered set of times that are present too in terms of witnesses.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I'm glad that you shared this this image and excavated it so well, so in such detail and with such this is just a classic example, I guess, of the way that a place can be many different things at once.
Yeah.
And when we can dig into this, when we're writing, when we can dig into a place being many different places at once, and yet the same, and yet different from any other place, with the energies that it has and with the witnesses that it has, those are the types of details that go beyond it had a rug and the floors were made of wood and there was a ceiling, and the walls were painted blue. Those are the details that go beyond that. So I promised Julian I would give him a couple of last minute things, but feel free, everybody has my email address, so feel free to contact me at any point if you have any thoughts or questions. I really enjoyed sharing this with this group, and thank you all so much. I hope that you've gotten a little bit of something out of this.
Kalela, that was so awesome. And thank you to everyone who shared and participated so actively. I just very grateful for this thoughtful, reflective, interesting session. I'm going to share a few links in the chat, including a feedback survey where you can tell Kalela what a great job she did. Link to our fall classes, which are currently open for enrollment. We've got a memoir workshop, we've got programming for poets, I mean, and everything in between. So lots of options there, including payment plans, financial aid. We really want to find a way to make this inclusive for you, regardless of your financial situation. Also, check out upcoming events and more workshops like this one on Thursdays and creative co-working sessions on Wednesdays, very similar to the sit and write thing that Kalela mentioned earlier. We also have a weekly newsletter where we round all of those things up so you don't have to keep track of them, including community events beyond Blue Stoop. You can also support us, bluestoop.org/donate, if you are able to. Thank you again. Grateful for your time and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you all so much.